Alright, what's up guys? Back working on the HEMI swap Jeep Renegade, and recap of the last part. I was able to get the engine pretty much bolted in, frame welded up, and it's pretty much how it sat for the past couple weeks, trying to figure out what I want to do next. Kind of stuck. I can't get a measurement on the drive shaft because when I try to lift the whole thing up, there's too much weight on the front, it's falling down. So I need to support the front frame, tie that into the actual chassis. To do that, I'm going to have to figure out the front suspension. Let's go take a look at it. Right over here, we got, right here we have what was the upper strut tower from the Charger. You can see, all I did was drill out the spot welds and chop it off from the frame. I was able to mark out where the spot welds were, or still are, according to the frame rail here, and where it's at, where everything's going to land out. So it's looking like I'm going to have to, well, drop the engine. All right, so it's looking like I'm going to have to shift this whole strut tower back about 3.5 inches in order to make the top of the strut match up to where the Renegade strut tower is, that general location. I was going to try to reuse the Renegade's strut. It's not compatible at all. The Charger uses an upper and lower control arm along with a strut. The Renegade uses just a McPherson style strut with a lower control arm. I could probably do a mix of both, but with that, trying to make the spindle from the Renegade work or the spindle from the Charger work with the Renegade suspension, it just wasn't going to work out. I think the best thing is use all Charger everything. It's strong enough to hold everything, big brakes, and if I can make it all fit, it should bolt right up. Everything's good. No. Everything's going to fit once I rebuild the lower brace. Oh shit, my bad. So everything should work once I rebuild the lower K-member or the lower subframe, because you can see the suspension is integral to the lower frame. So if I shift the upper strut tower back, I gotta shift the lower control arms back the same amount. Looks like 3.5 inches should work. Still haven't figured out steering yet. I guess we'll but yeah, I guess we'll stick to my whole adage of, try it, see what happens. It hasn't failed me yet, but still got a long ways to go. So I guess I'll go ahead, pick everything up out here, move it into the garage. Mosquitoes are starting to come out, so yeah, we'll head inside. Cool. All right, so this might be a little complex or overboard, but I'm gonna go ahead and use a laser level and go ahead and mark the height of this. Should be about 10 inches, and then see about cutting it. Right. 10 inches up, but gotta account for 1 inch of that aluminum block. So go right there. 11 inches. Hopefully this works. All right, that was almost right on. Trace our line. All right, that worked out pretty good. A little better than expected. All right, now all I got to do is chop that up and see if it fits. Alright, so I've gotten to the point where it looks like I'm going to have to drop the engine again, get this thing out of the way. I can't move the strut tower in place, push it far enough back with the existing strut tower stuff in the way. So I'm going to have to go ahead and chop that out too. I just want to avoid getting as much, metal dust and everything on the engine. So get that out of the way, and then chop that up, see if the strut tower fits. Another quick update with these strut towers and a slight revision of the plan. Wasn't really feeling the whole sheet metal, welded to sheet metal thing. So you can see I'm in the process of adding a 2x3 box section of tube. It's going to be welded across the frame, tying in from the front up to pretty much the A-pillar. And hopefully make everything a lot more sturdy. And if I ever feel like tying in an actual roll cage or tube chassis to the front. What's up, Chuck? What you doing? Hey. Alright, so yeah, you can see it's going to be tied in to the actual A-pillar and connect in to the front. Should make for a pretty sturdy upper strut. So, but doesn't quite fit quite right. So, gonna have to go ahead, cut it, make an offset in it, and try to get a little better contact. That is going to be holding the whole weight of the car. Well, relatively. It is going to be holding the whole weight of the car, so I figured might as well make it as sturdy as possible, and then go from there. Okay, so I think I got it figured out. It took me a little bit, but I got it sorted. I'm going to have to go ahead and do a 3/8 of an inch offset to go from the frame in the cab to the frame rail inside the engine bay. Just so we're on the same page, I don't know how to TIG weld. Never really tried it. Busted out the TIG welder yesterday, and these are the first bit of steel that I've ever welded. It's not that bad. I mean, it's not great. I'm not a welder, but I think it'll do all right, for what we're doing. Most I've ever done before is melt some aluminum together when I was building my CNC table. So, I think I'll do all right. So, guess I'll go ahead, get this clamped down to the table, bust out the TIG, and see if I can melt this together. All right, so getting the Jeep ready to apply the panel bond. Got primer on everything that I won't be able to get to later, and that primered all the surfaces that I don't want this stuff on. And also primered up the exterior of this and keeping bare metal everything that I do want stuck. So all of this is going to make good contact along the body. So next, mix up a batch, spread it out, and only got one shot of this, but it does have a 90-minute window, so you know what could go wrong. So everything's in place, ready to weld the upper strut towers. Just got to go ahead, start tacking it all up, and then once it's all in place, seam seal everything, prime it up, should be good to go. So let's knock it out. Alright, so we got everything welded out, just waiting for it to cool off. I hit it with some seam sealer, prime it up, that way it doesn't rust overnight, and that should be it. Next thing after this, I already got the engine drop, so I got to pull the engine off of the subframe and try to figure out how I'm going to move the suspension back. It's about 4 5/8 of an inch. I got to shift all the suspension back in order to match up where I put the strut towers at now, and then that way all the geometry should be the same. Steering looks like it's going to work. There's enough room underneath the oil pan that I can fit the electrical power steering. So I think it's going to work. So far, it's looking like it's everything's going to work out, even though didn't really plan anything, but we're already this far, so hell yeah. Damn. Oh shit, yeah, I got room. Maybe. No. Oh well. Make it happen. Alright, pretty huge step forward. A lot of progress. Didn't really seem like a whole lot going on. I mean, I was like, hey, it's just upper strut towers. But putting those in, tying in the charger frame into the Renegade body, gave me enough structure to, for the first time, actually put the engine, transmission up in the air. No cradle, no support underneath. Finally off the engine stand. And so it's getting there. Like the whole time, kind of been doubting everything, but every time it just kind of works out, and it just keeps working out. I got probably enough room to put maybe an intercooler and a radiator. Let's just stick with the radiator for now. Got a little bit of room up front, so I'll definitely be able to keep the engine cool. But now that I got the engine transmission installed, I got to get a measurement for the drive shaft. I think I kind of messed up when I welded the rear end in. It seems like it's sitting pretty low. I may have to actually cut all that out, raise the subframe up, weld it back into the rear. I mean, kind of expected. I did the whole thing not really knowing what I was doing and just taking measurements off of a pretty crashed Charger. So thought it was going to work. It doesn't look like it's gonna. As we can go ahead and take a look, it's off. It's off quite a bit. Probably about 6 inches or so. I guess you really can't even tell what's going on. But yeah, probably can't even see in there. But it looks like I'm gonna have to go ahead, cut the frame. Well, I didn't actually weld the back on. Yeah, go ahead, cut the frame off at the front and lift everything up probably about 6 inches, 4 to 6 inches. I'll get a decent measurement on it. I was just hoping eyeballing it was going to work, but it didn't. But not going to let that stop me. Still moving forward. And yeah, going to knock this shit out. I'd say next step, I got to drop the subframe, engine cradle, everything, and I'm going to have to move. These are the 2 lower control arm mounts and the steering rack. I'm going to have to move these 2 mounts back. I think it was 4 5/8 inch, and that way the front suspension is going to be lined up with the upper strut towers. Because right now it's kicked. It'd be kicked way back. Definitely wouldn't work. But I think I'm going to make it happen. Pretty much, yeah, once I get the front suspension sorted out, then relocate the rear suspension that I messed up a little bit, and it'll be on the ground. And once it's on the ground, under its own weight, there's really nothing else to do other than start working on the wiring. Still going to weld up the firewall a little bit. Yeah, you can see you got a seam here. Gotta patch that up. Probably gotta cut this out. It's gonna be in the way of the wheel when it turns, and a few more things, a lot more things. Yeah, a lot more things, but making progress, not giving up, and it's gonna happen. But I think that's gonna wrap up this video. Got enough done. It's been a few weeks, so go ahead and knock this video out. Start working on the subframe later, probably tomorrow, and then see where that takes me. But thank you all for watching. Appreciate everything. And that's it.